Adaptation does not work without the chemistry between Joss and Lucy. Was there a moment when you were filming this project or during Fantasy Island that you and Lucy realized you had that connection and you could bring these beloved characters to life on screen?
Uh, I think a lot of times when you're working with someone, um, it's what they call it cooks, it works. Uh, that sometimes scenes just can fly, and that's because of your natural chemistry with that other person. And so yeah, I mean from day one, when Lucy and I started working together, it was like, oh, this works really well. And we even said to each other at Fantasy Island, it's like, oh, it's kind of a shame because our characters don't really get to see
Yeah.
each other. And even when we do, it's always with a third person. And that was just the nature of the beast. But not that there's anything wrong with Fantasy Island, but in this one, we got to have that time to just be one on one and see what happens. And I think it really worked.
Yeah, definitely. And a
Yeah.
huge reason why Joss is the person he is today is because of his past and his family. What was your process like developing him for the screen?
Yeah, it's this is a guy who is trying to impress his father. And I can relate to that. I think most young boys can, especially when they have older brothers. I'm the youngest of three.
Yeah.
You're trying to stand out and stand away, kind of come out from the shadow. And I really like that Josh was going his own way in life, that despite the expectations for him to become a doctor, he walked away. And yes, this is a really difficult thing for him to, on the daily to try and overcome. That process for me allows me to like have the underlying emotion constantly, and that yes, he's absolutely head over heels for this girl that sits across from 8 feet across from him for 10 to 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. But underlying all that, there is this um, driving force and a wave that's making him, that influences all of his decisions.
And a part of the fun of adapting a book to the screen is fans will get to see their favorite moments brought to life in a different
Yeah.
medium. For you, what was your favorite Joss and Lucy moment?
Oh wow. Well, personally, I really enjoyed the final scene, which was actually our final day of shooting, because I love New York. I'm here working in New York right now, and I feel like whenever you work in New York, that it because New York itself is a character, and so to be
Mhm.
up on the High Line and getting to have this really beautiful moment up there was touching to me personally.
And as we get towards the end of the story, it becomes apparent that Josh has loved Lucy from the beginning. And as an actor, you've dropped subtle hints throughout your performance leading up to that point. What was your process like finding those moments where you could interject those little hints?
Well, it was always Josh's main problem is not saying what he means and meaning what he says, which is what makes it a lot of fun. At the same time, if he walked in, in the first moment of the movie, when you see them across from each other, and he puts his pen down, it was just like, "Hey, Lucy, you know what? I'm madly in love with you, but I'm really struggling trying to, you know, uh, figure out this relationship we have here at work." It just wouldn't make for much of a movie. So it was again, talking about that undercurrent with his family. Josh is putting up fronts. He's wearing a shield all the time, and um, that's constantly what I was reminding myself. Just throw up the shield, throw up the shield.
And this is your first venture into the rom-com genre, and you've set the bar really high for yourself. What did you learn about this experience that you'll bring to the next?
I'm flattered to hear you say that. That's great. Um, I think like anything that I'm someone who likes to watch my performances. I think like an athlete, you can learn from watching tape. That you can see when timing works. Again, talking about when it cooks.
Yeah.
And there are, not that there are many, but every now and again I have notes for myself where there's a phrase in acting called letting the air out. When a scene drops out, when the air falls out, and trying to fill those moments more and more. And actually, I was able to tweak some things in our ADR session at the end, because I felt like there were times where I was being too realistic, too dramatic, too harsh. And I wanted to lighten those up a little bit, because they were coming off as a bit that it was like, whoa, I don't, that's too much. It's too much. They were a bit too sharp.
You talked in the past about kind of the pressures of bringing this character to life. With the film out now, I wonder if you've had the opportunity to kind of see the fan response. It's been overwhelmingly really positive, and what that has meant to you.
It's been so much fun. I've never had such interaction with fans before, who were such fans of a source material to begin with. And so, yeah, I was trepidatious for sure. That there was it leading up to it. I'm like, oh geez, I really hope they like it. I hope they like my portrayal of Josh. Was I did I take enough away from the book in order to give them the Josh that they thought about in their heads? There are some of my favorite books have come to life, and that mark has been met sometimes, and it's been missed. And so I just was fearful that that they wouldn't like it. Of course, that's in your head. But seeing their reaction so far, it's just been great. They reach out on social media,
Yeah,
mention in stories, and they reach out in my DMs, and I've been trying to reach back out to people. So if anybody sees this, please, reach out. I'll do my best to answer you, and thank you for your love and support.
fans really want a sequel, or for this to be adapted to a television series. What are your thoughts on potentially continuing the story?
An actor who turns down work is not a very smart actor.
You've said in the past that you've always chased good stories. What's next for you?
So I'm in the middle of that process right now. Like I said, I'm shooting a series here in New York for Showtime called Three Women, based on another very popular book. I did a couple of projects for Netflix. One's a horror film, and the other is a survivalist TV show. And now for me, it's we're trying. My schedule is a little busy working here, but at the same time, it never stops. I'm always auditioning. I'm always taking meetings and reading scripts, and trying to figure out the next one after this.
Yeah, I just got a couple of career questions for you. How did you discover
Sure.
your passion for storytelling?
It was really my parents. My parents were both great storytellers. My mom's a teacher, and so I think teachers have to be incredible actors themselves. They're constantly bringing stories to life. And, she taught elementary school, and my father was really enigmatic, and he was his ability to tell stories from his past, stuff that I can now retell because he told it so well. Things where you're like, oh, I've heard this story, that he's telling, somebody else for the umpteenth time, but they all stick with me now because they're great. They're great stories, and the way he told them was really captivating. So they were my original teachers, but I think it was really when I got to college and I discovered Shakespeare that because I had always had such a passion for history, and his tellings of history really brought them to life for me. I was like, oh man, this is poetry, but this is historic, this is epic, and I knew right where I wanted to be for the rest of my life.
Yeah, love that. And you've had a lot of success throughout your career. When you look back, is there a particular moment that stands out to you?
Every single project I've worked on is its own little gift, and that the process is the gift. Um, and once the movie's released, it's out there and it's up to the people, and you get to experience that too. And if it takes off, it's wonderful. But like getting to work with Steven Spielberg and um, John and Valerie Ferris. Battle of the Sexes is really quite close to me. I think Dolphin Tale at the beginning of my career was, I mean, getting to work with an animal that touches the lives of truly hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions.
Yeah.
And it was so sad to hear the news about her lately, that's of her passing. But I've really had, yeah, and then Catch 22, getting to go live in Italy. It goes on, and I almost have to remind myself and take pause every now and again and go, wow, how grateful I am for this career I have to do what I love to do, travel the world, and make a living doing it. I cannot tell you how incredibly lucky I feel and how grateful I am for it.
Yeah. And then final question for you. Um, do you have a dream role that you would love to play in the future? I know one of your brothers is also a producer. Is there ever a
Mhm.
chance that we'll see you behind the camera as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's something we're already working on. Um, a dream job. I've been um, maybe a little more than obsessed with Mickey Mantle.
Mm,
Um, I love his story that he had this American hero who had a very dark side, and it was at a time when you didn't print bad press about your heroes. Um, and there's a book out there called The Last Boy, and by Jane Levy, and she talks about showing the light within the darkness. And I've always thought that's exactly the kind of characters I would like to play. Getting to show the darkness within the light, but the light within the dark, any kind of duality. But
yeah.
him in particular has always been very close to me.